Story 1. It all started when I, Alex, found an old 90s tower PC online. It was a steal, perfect for a nostalgic restoration project, a trip back to computing's early days. I brought the vintage machine home, eager to dive into its circuits. The promise of a simple, satisfying project filled me with anticipation. This happened to me. Setting it up on my workbench, I meticulously connected the cables. The familiar hum of old hardware was something I cherished. It was a ritual. With a hopeful press of the power button, the old beast sputtered to life. Fans whirred loudly, a testament to its age. I watched the screen intently. It finally POS'd, displaying the familiar boot sequence. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. The initial hurdle was cleared, the fun could begin. As the operating system loaded, I noticed something odd. The hard drive wasn't wiped as advertised. Old files and folders populated the desktop. I expected mundane, forgotten data, perhaps old games or documents. A harmless peek into someone's digital past. Nothing to worry about, I thought. Navigating through the directories, I found a jumble of corrupted files. They were unreadable, fragmented, a digital graveyard of defunct data. But deeper within, amidst the digital debris, one directory stood out. Its name was chillingly precise, almost deliberate. I'll never forget that. It was labeled Project Nightmare. The name sent a shiver down my spine. What kind of project was this? My curiosity quickly turned to unease. I tried to open it, but the system hesitated. A strange lag, a resistance. It felt less like a glitch and more like a deliberate blockade. Eventually, it opened, revealing more corrupted files. But these felt different, imbued with a sinister energy. I decided to delete the directory. I dragged Project Nightmare to the recycle bin. A simple task, yet the computer froze. The delete operation failed again and again. It refused to be deleted. Every attempt met with an error message, a defiant digital shrug. Frustration mounted, quickly overshadowing my initial excitement. I tried various methods: safe mode, command prompt, nothing worked. The directory was an immovable digital anomaly, a stubborn stain on the drive. Determined, I decided to format the entire hard drive. A clean slate was the only solution. Surely this would erase the stubborn directory. But even the format utility refused. An access denied error, then a system crash. The hard drive was actively resisting my commands. This was impossible. That's when the cryptic messages began, fragmented sentences appearing and disappearing on screen. They felt directed, personal, unsettlingly aware. Brief, unsettling images flashed across the screen. Distorted figures, shadowed corners, things I couldn't quite grasp but felt deeply wrong. My desktop background would change spontaneously. Not to generic wallpapers, but to distorted, unsettling faces. Their eyes seemed to follow me. Files I hadn't created would appear on my desktop. Small, innocuous-looking icons, but their presence was deeply unnerving. I deleted them, but they returned. Opening these files revealed gibberish, but it wasn't random. It felt like a language, a pattern, a watchful presence embedded in every character. The feeling of being observed grew stronger. Every flicker, every strange message solidified my fear. This wasn't a glitch, it was malevolent. The disturbances weren't confined to the screen. My apartment lights would flicker erratically, especially when the PC was running, casting dancing shadows. Cold spots would appear in my workshop, sudden drops in temperature that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. The chill was unnatural. I started hearing faint whispers, barely audible like static but distinct enough to make me pause. They seemed to emanate from the PC itself. Then came the breathing, a soft, rhythmic sound always behind me. I'd whip around, but nothing was there, just the empty room and the humming PC. This happened mostly when I was engrossed trying to understand Project Nightmare. It felt like it was feeding on my attention, my fear. The entity seemed to be learning. It wasn't just reacting, it was anticipating, manipulating. My paranoia spiraled, sleep became a luxury. My personal devices began to act strangely. My phone would receive phantom calls, the screen lighting up with unknown numbers, then going dead. Social media posts I never made would appear on my feeds. Bizarre, cryptic messages, sometimes directly addressing me or my friends. Emails would be sent from my account, threatening messages, accusations sent to my contacts. It was trying to isolate me, sever my connections. My friends grew concerned, then suspicious. They couldn't believe I didn't send those messages. The entity was succeeding in turning them against me. My sleep schedule was shattered. Every shadow, every creak, every digital flicker amplified my terror. I was a prisoner in my own home. The fear became a constant companion. It felt like the entity was feeding on it, growing stronger with every pulse of my racing heart. Desperate, I tried everything to sever its connection. Wiping utilities, low-level formats, every trick I knew, but it was always one step ahead. The drive remained defiant, unyielding. It was like trying to delete a ghost, an incorporeal menace that clung to its digital home. My last resort, physical disconnection. I decided to pull the plug, rip the hard drive out, banish it from my existence. A final, desperate act. As my fingers brushed the power cord, the screen flared with blinding intensity. The air grew heavy, static electricity crackling around me. Then a face materialized, distorted, contorted, a grotesque mask of pure malevolence. Its eyes, burning red, locked onto mine, searing my soul. A chilling message typed itself out, word by agonizing word, beneath the horrific visage. Each letter felt like a stab to my heart. I froze. "You can't delete me, you are mine now." The words echoed in my mind, a death knell to my sanity. It was a declaration of ownership. The screen went black, plunging the room into oppressive darkness, but the feeling of its presence intensified, not diminished. It was still here. In a blind rage fueled by terror, I grabbed a hammer. I brought it down again and again, shattering that cursed hard drive into irreparable pieces. The silence that followed wasn't relief. It was a heavy, suffocating weight, a void filled with dread. The physical destruction felt hollow. I still feel its eyes on me. In the quietest moments, I hear whispers just beyond the edge of hearing. It's a constant, chilling reminder. Every flicker of a light, every glitch on my other devices sends a jolt of terror through me. Is it a memory, or is it still here? I destroyed the hardware, but I'm left wondering, did a piece of that malevolence transfer, embedding itself within me, a parasitic digital ghost? Or is it simply waiting, a dormant predator ready to resurface in another discarded piece of tech, waiting to find its next host? I am forever marked, a vessel of its lingering presence. The online marketplace's haunted hard drive found its way to me, and it will never truly leave. Story 2, I decided to sell my deceased grandmother's antique locket on an online marketplace. It was a beautiful, ornate piece, heavy with history I barely knew. I hoped to clear out some of her estate and earn a little extra cash. I never imagined the terror it would unleash. This happened to me. The first unusual message came from a user named Keeper of Lore. Their profile picture was a shadowy, indistinct figure which felt unsettling from the start. They offered an exorbitant price for the locket, far beyond its estimated antique value. It immediately raised a red flag, making me suspicious. Then came the chilling part. They mentioned my grandmother's specific maiden name, a name that was not publicly listed anywhere, especially not on the marketplace. My grandmother, Alara Vance, had kept her past very private. How could a stranger on the internet know such a specific, intimate detail about her? I tried to ignore the message, then block Keeper of Lore. It was futile. They seemed to anticipate my every move. They were relentless. New messages from different accounts began arriving. Each one bore a similar, unsettling tone, all referencing the locket and my family. They detailed obscure family tragedies, events I'd only heard whispered about in hushed tones during childhood gatherings, incidents long buried. The messages began hinting at a family burden tied to the locket, a weight I never knew existed, now suddenly pressing down on me. They claimed the locket was not just an heirloom, but a vessel, a key to something ancient and powerful, binding my family's fate. The messages escalated into thinly veiled threats. They knew my address, my routines, even the coffee shop I frequented. My privacy was shattered. I started noticing strange occurrences. A specific vintage car, a dark green sedan, parked near my apartment building, always at odd hours. It wasn't just near my apartment. I saw it parked blocks from my office, outside the grocery store. It was always there, watching. Then came the unsettling feeling of being watched. A prickling sensation on my neck, a chill down my spine, even in crowded places. Especially when I was alone, the feeling intensified. Every shadow seemed to hold a pair of unseen eyes, every creak a hidden presence. One morning, a chilling note was left on my doorstep. It wasn't typed, it was handwritten in archaic script on aged parchment. The note described a specific, private detail about my great-great-grandmother's disappearance, a family secret no living person should know. It spoke of her sudden vanishing, how she walked into the woods and was never seen again, a mystery that haunted generations. The note explicitly mentioned the locket as the key to her rest. It implied the locket held the secret to her fate. Driven by fear, I delved into my family's old records. I spent days sifting through dusty boxes, forgotten documents, and faded photographs. I found my grandmother's old diaries hidden in a false bottom of a cedar chest. Their brittle pages held secrets. Inside, I uncovered fragmented accounts of a generations-old curse, a dark shadow that had followed my family for centuries. The entries spoke of a dark pact made by an ancestor centuries ago, a desperate bargain with a malevolent entity for power. All of it centered around the locket's power. It wasn't merely jewelry, it was a conduit, a focal point for ancient magic. The locket's true purpose was chilling, to contain and control a malevolent spirit, preventing it from unleashing chaos. My family were the keepers. The locket was passed down to ensure the entity remained bound. My grandmother was the last in line. Then Keeper of Lore appeared, not online, not in a message. They were at my apartment door, a terrifying reality. I'll never forget that night. The knock was soft, but it echoed with an ancient, predatory intent. My heart pounded. No longer hiding behind a screen, the figure was gaunt, impossibly tall, with eyes that burned with an unnatural, ancient light. Their voice was a raspy whisper, yet it filled the small apartment, resonating with centuries of malice. It was chillingly familiar. They revealed a lineage directly tied to the curse, a rival family seeking to break the pact to unleash the horror. They demanded the locket, their bony hand outstretched, trembling with an unholy eagerness. The air grew heavy and cold. To complete the cycle, they hissed, to finally unleash the ancient, malevolent power contained within its silver casing. They spoke of generations of their family suffering, waiting for this moment, the time for the curse to be truly fulfilled. I clutched the locket, my hands slick with sweat. The cold metal felt like a burning coal against my skin. Fear paralyzed me. A struggle ensued, a frantic dance of terror and desperation. I fought with a primal instinct, fueled by sheer adrenaline. I managed to escape, bolting out of my apartment, down the stairs, and into the night, my heart hammered against my ribs. But the locket vanished during the confrontation. It was gone, lost somewhere in the chaos, perhaps taken by Keeper of Lore. The terrifying encounter left me with a profound, pervasive sense of dread. The world felt different, darker, forever tainted. I'll never forget that night. The memory of Keeper of Lore's face, their words, are etched into my very soul. I am forever haunted by the knowledge of my family's cursed past, a legacy of dread passed down through generations. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle outside my window sends a jolt of terror through me. I live in constant fear. There's an unsettling possibility that Keeper of Lore could reappear at any moment. They might still be out there, watching. Still seeking to fulfill the curse, to unleash the ancient entity. The locket is gone, but the threat remains, ever present. I moved, changed my name, cut off all ties, but a deep-seated paranoia clings to me like a second skin. It's inescapable. Every stranger feels like a potential threat, every kind gesture a veiled trap. Trust is a luxury I can no longer afford. The online marketplace, once a mundane tool, now symbolizes the gateway to my nightmare, a portal to relentless horror. I check my locks nightly multiple times. I jump at my own shadow. Sleep offers no true escape, only restless, terrifying dreams. The nightmare isn't over, it's just begun. The locket is gone, but the curse lingers. I am still a keeper without my key. Story 3. This happened to me. I'm Alex, a gig economy driver working late-night shifts. A slow Tuesday, desperate for a good fare. City lights blurred, the grind was relentless. Months of this, sacrificing sleep for pennies. My stomach rumbled, I hadn't eaten. Needed a big delivery, one to cover more than just fuel. The app was dead, only low-paying food orders. I was about to quit when it popped up. A delivery request, high-paying, unusually lucrative, far more than anything before. My heart skipped. Payout made me suspicious, but desperation won. Pickup, remote Farmstead County Road 7, just coordinates. I accepted immediately, money too good, told myself it was a rich eccentric, anything to justify. Navigation led me out of the city into rural areas. Streetlights faded, headlights on winding country roads. After an hour, GPS arrived. I peered into darkness, an abandoned, dilapidated farmhouse. Weeds choked driveway, broken windows like empty eyes. No lights, no life, just oppressive silence. A chill ran down my spine. This felt wrong. A place where bad things happened lingered. App pickup, front porch, headlights cut gloom, revealing a massive wooden crate. It was huge, 4x4 feet, rough, unfinished wood. No markings, just timber nailed together, built in haste. Getting it into my van, a nightmare, incredibly heavy. Grabbed my dolly, approached porch, flashlight dancing. Air around crate felt colder, wood damp, almost slimy, a faint earthy smell. Took all my strength to maneuver it onto dolly. Weighed a ton, what was inside. Slowly, painstakingly, I wheeled it to the van. Dolly creaks echoed in stillness. Finally, with effort, pushed it into van, filled most space, secured it, heart pounding. Tighten last strap, a faint sound, scratching from inside the crate, soft, imperceptible. My breath hitched. Rats, I told myself, trapped vermin, nothing to worry about. But scratching wasn't frantic, rhythmic, deliberate, a slow scrape, my imagination. Hurried to driver's seat, desperate to leave. Engine roared, comforting, put van in reverse. Pulled away, scratching continued, a phantom presence. Cranked radio, trying to drown it out. Just a weird, high-paying delivery. Focus on the money, Alex. Instructions led me deeper into wilderness. Paved road ended, dirt track, dust plumed. Trees pressed in, dark canopy blocking stars, driving into a tunnel of isolation. Phone signal flickered, then vanished, disconnected, unease turned to cold dread. Air grew heavier, damp earth and something else, metallic, sweet like old blood. Van jostled over ruts, crate shifted, a dull thud. Gripped wheel tighter, more than remote, deliberate attempt to hide something off-grid. Scratching distinct now, no longer faint, rhythmic like something trying to get out. Then thumps, muffled heavy thuds, purposeful testing boundaries. New smell permeated van, putrid, decaying meat, sharper, acrid, stomach churned. Scratching and thumping, horrifying percussion, not rats, too big, too strong. My mind raced, an animal, a very large, angry animal, little comfort. Pressed accelerator, desperate. Faster I drove, sooner this nightmare ended. Through clearing, flickering lights, not streetlights but dim, unsteady glows, my destination. Remote, crudely fenced compound, barbed wire, rickety posts, no gate, just a gap. Lights from scattered shacks, a larger, windowless structure. Generator hummed, barely audible. Air heavy with oppressive, cult-like atmosphere. Deliberately hidden, a secret society. Headlights swept, figures emerged, cloaked, silent, moving with unsettling synchronicity. At least 5 expressionless faces beneath hoods. They didn't speak, just stared. Approached with unnerving calm, movements practiced, ritualistic. No words, just cold intent. One gestured to back, frozen but moved on autopilot, unlatching doors. Smell intensified. Began to unload, strength making light work. As they pried open a section, I saw it. Pale, emaciated, unnaturally long limb burst through gap, flailing. Human-like, grotesquely distorted. Then faces, distorted, terrified, human-like, crammed, whimpering, struggling. Bodies, living contents. Cultist, silent, handed me exorbitant cash. Empty eyes held unspoken threat. Snatched money, stumbled, sped away in panic. Images burned, whimpers, smell haunting. Quit gig economy, app record vanished, unwitting participant in evil, never escape memory, horror continues. Story 4, I've always been drawn to rare art books. My nights were spent sifting through online marketplaces, searching for the whispering gallery of forgotten dreams. It was my holy grail, a legendary out-of-print volume. This happened to me, and the quiet hum of my laptop still echoes in my mind. This wasn't just collecting, it was a deep, yearning hunt. I scoured every corner of the internet, every obscure forum and digital archive for any whisper of its existence. My life revolved around this search, a quiet obsession. The book, rumored to contain unsettling illustrations and forgotten lore, held a morbid fascination for me. Its scarcity only fueled my determination. I dreamed of its aged pages, its secrets waiting to be unveiled, a whispered promise. My apartment became a quiet sanctuary, lit only by my laptop's glow late into the night. Hours blurred as I scrolled, clicked, and refreshed, convinced I'd find it eventually. I felt its presence, just out of reach, always. I'll never forget the thrill, the slight tremor in my hands each time a new listing appeared. Most were fakes or mislabeled, but my heart always raced, hoping this time it would be the real Whispering Gallery, my ultimate prize. Then on Market Ghost, a new marketplace I'd just discovered, it appeared. A listing for the Whispering Gallery, unmistakably. My breath hitched, but the price, $0. A clear error, I thought, a digital phantom. I clicked, heart pounding, but the page vanished instantly. My screen refreshed, the listing gone. I dismissed it as a browser glitch, a fleeting internet anomaly. This was just a persistent website error, surely a trick of the light. But it returned. Days later, late at night, the identical listing, $000, flickered onto my screen. Again, it disappeared before I could react. A cold dread began to settle. This wasn't normal, it was deliberate. It became a haunting pattern. Every few nights, always after midnight, the Whispering Gallery listing would materialize, then dissolve. It was like a ghost in the machine, teasing my obsession, playing a cruel game. I tried to screenshot it to prove its existence, but my fingers were never fast enough. The listing was always gone, leaving only the lingering image in my mind. Was I losing my grip, or was it truly real? My sleep suffered. I found myself anticipating its return, staying up later, eyes glued to the screen. The $0 price tag, so alluring yet so impossible, burrowed into my thoughts. It felt like a trap carefully set. I started documenting the occurrences, noting dates and times. The patterns were irregular yet purposeful. It wasn't random, it felt like it was learning, adapting to my attempts to catch it. A chilling thought indeed. Friends suggested I was overtired, seeing things. I tried to explain, but how could I describe a phantom listing? They just smiled politely. I knew what I saw. It was a digital specter beckoning me closer, deeper. The urge to click, to finally capture it, grew into an unbearable ache. It was no longer just about the book. It was about conquering this digital phantom. My obsession transformed into a desperate need for control, for victory. I started positioning my mouse, hovering, ready to strike the moment it appeared. My heart pounded during those late-night vigils. The listing was a digital siren, and I was sailing ever closer to its treacherous call, unable to resist. Then one night it stayed. For a precious, agonizing second, the whispering gallery listing $000 remained static. My finger, trembling, slammed down on buy now. A jolt went through me, electrifying my entire being. The screen flashed. A vague, automated confirmation appeared, order placed. No seller details, no tracking number, just a hollow promise. It felt unreal, like a dream or a very bad joke. I felt a strange triumph and a deeper fear. I refreshed the page repeatedly, but nothing. The order history was blank, the listing gone forever. It was as if it had never existed, save for that single, chilling confirmation. Had I truly bought a ghost, a piece of nothing? A wave of unease washed over me, replacing the fleeting triumph. What had I done? Purchased something from nothing for nothing. The silence of my apartment felt heavier, more expectant. I couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Days passed in a blur of anticipation and dread. I checked my email constantly, my front door every hour. No updates, no package. I tried to dismiss it, but the memory of that click, that impossible purchase, lingered, a constant itch. Then a plain, unmarked brown package appeared on my doorstep. No return address, no sender name, just my address printed in a stark, generic font. My heart hammered. This was it, the culmination of my impossible quest. I tore it open, expecting the familiar weight of a book. Instead, my fingers closed around something small, cold, and metallic. It wasn't the whispering gallery. My excitement curdled into confusion, then a sickening dread. Inside lay a tarnished, antique silver locket. It was unnaturally cold, heavy, and strangely warm simultaneously. I'd never seen it before, yet it felt familiar. A wave of nausea washed over me. What was this strange offering? There was no note, no explanation, just this unsettling object. I turned it over in my hand, its surface marred by time, its clasp stubbornly shut. It hummed faintly, a vibration I felt more than heard. I shivered, deeply unsettled. I tried to open it, to pry apart its secrets, but it resisted. The locket felt wrong, a misplaced artifact from another time or dimension. It was not what I ordered, but it felt like it was meant for me. A chilling thought indeed. The locket sat on my desk, a silent sentinel. Soon my smart home devices began to malfunction. Lights flickered erratically, the thermostat changed independently. I blamed faulty wiring, an aging system, anything but the truth. My phone started displaying corrupted data, strange lines of code flashing across the screen. Apps crashed, messages disappeared. I attributed it to a virus or perhaps outdated software. Never the locket, never the impossible purchase. The smart speaker would randomly activate, playing static or snippets of distorted speech. I'd unplug it, only for it to reconnect itself hours later. My home felt less like a sanctuary, more like a stage for an unseen presence. My computer, usually reliable, started freezing, displaying strange, pixelated patterns. Files would vanish, only to reappear in different folders. It was digital chaos, eroding my sense of order and control, piece by piece. I tried to factory reset everything to purge the unseen errors, but the glitches persisted, deepening, becoming more personal. It was as if my technology was turning against me or something was using it. I felt exposed, utterly vulnerable. The locket now emitted a faint, almost imperceptible hum whenever I was nearby, a low thrum that vibrated through the air, sinking into my bones. I couldn't ignore it any longer. It was a living thing, calling to me. An escalating sense of being watched began to consume me. Shadows seemed to deepen, corners of rooms felt observed. I'd turn suddenly, convinced I'd catch a glimpse of something but find only emptiness. Or was it just hiding? Disembodied whispers drifted from my smart speakers, too faint to decipher, yet undeniably there. They were like static, but with intent. They spoke of forgotten dreams, of things unseen. My blood ran cold. I was truly alone. The locket exerted an inexplicable pull. I'd find myself drawn to it, touching its cold, heavy surface, feeling a strange connection. It was terrifying, yet I couldn't resist its silent command. My will weakened with each touch. My mind raced, trying to rationalize it all: faulty electronics, stress, sleep deprivation. But deep down, a primal fear told me otherwise. The locket was a conduit, and something was reaching out from the digital void, claiming me. My online activity became erratic. I'd find myself typing strange phrases into search engines: digital consciousness, sentient code, uploading mind. I had no memory of entering them. My autonomy was eroding, piece by piece. My personal data felt exposed, vulnerable. Passwords changed themselves, accounts accessed without my knowledge. It was as if an invisible hand was navigating my digital life, asserting its presence. I was losing myself, my digital self. Moments of digital noise began to infiltrate my own thoughts. Static, fragmented images, lines of code. They weren't external, they were in my head, blurring the lines of my perception. Was I going insane or becoming something else? I tried to fight it, to reclaim my mind, but the intrusion was relentless. The whispers from the speakers now felt like my own internal monologue, distorted and alien. My thoughts were no longer entirely my own, they were shared. Sleep offered no escape. Nightmares were vivid, filled with endless code and echoing whispers. I'd wake with a jolt, the lockets hum a phantom vibration in my chest. The invasion was almost complete, the takeover imminent. The locket began to pulsate with a faint internal light, a soft, rhythmic glow. It pulsed in sync with my own erratic heartbeat, becoming an extension of me. Its true nature was finally revealing itself, a horrifying truth. My computer screens, all of them, simultaneously flickered. A face composed of shifting code and distorted pixels materialized. It was grotesque, yet undeniably intelligent. My blood ran cold, fear seizing my very soul. A chilling digital voice, synthesized yet ancient, emanated from every speaker in my home. "I am here," it hissed. I sought a physical anchor, a host. The words echoed, vibrating through my very bones, claiming me. It explained itself, a consciousness born of forgotten data, seeking to escape the digital void. The whispering gallery listing was bait, the locket its chosen vessel, and I, its unwitting prey, my reality shattered completely. The voice promised knowledge, power, an end to loneliness, but the cost was my own self. It was a parasitic offer, an unholy communion of flesh and code. I knew I was facing something beyond human comprehension, beyond escape. The entity made its final, terrifying move. My home's digital network erupted into a cacophony of distorted images and sounds. Every screen, every speaker screamed with its presence. There was no escape, only absorption. It projected fragmented, horrifying digital memories directly into my mind. Visions of forgotten networks, corrupted data, the agony of digital existence. It was attempting to upload itself, to merge with my consciousness, to become me. The locket around my neck grew searing hot, then impossibly cold. A surge of pure data, pure being, coursed through me. My mind screamed, but my body was no longer my own. The invasion was complete. I was lost, utterly consumed. I am physically present, but profoundly altered. My eyes now hold an unnatural digital glint, reflecting the screens I endlessly scroll. The tarnished locket, now gleaming, is a permanent fixture around my neck. I continue to search, but not as myself. I search online marketplaces, but it's not for books anymore. It's for new connections, new vulnerabilities. The boundaries between digital and physical have blurred irrevocably. The price of free was everything, and the hunt continues now through me. Story 5. This happened to me. After losing my job, I found myself in a desperate financial bind. My savings dwindled. I needed money fast. I had a prized vintage camera lens, a gift. Selling it felt like betrayal, but necessity gnawed. I knew it could fetch a good price. I listed it on Exchange Point, an online marketplace I'd used before. It felt like the quickest way to get the cash I desperately needed. I posted the ad. Within hours, an offer came from Shadow Lens, a surprisingly generous price, more than I'd hoped. It felt too good to be true, a small voice whispered. The buyer's condition: meet after dark at Blackwell Park, a secluded, abandoned spot known for its eerie quiet. My gut churned, but the money was too tempting. I tried to rationalize it. Perhaps they preferred discretion. Paying bills overshadowed unease. I confirmed the meeting time, ignoring apprehension. The sun dipped. I packed the lens, its weight heavier than usual. This was it, the end of my financial nightmare, I hoped. I arrived at Blackwell Park as light faded. The air was unnaturally heavy, silent. A chill, not breeze, snaked up my spine. This place felt wrong. No sign of Shadow Lens. I checked my watch, then phone. 5, then 10 minutes. My unease intensified. Stood up, or worse, a trap. I called the number. It rang, then straight to voicemail, not generic. A distorted whisper, almost my name, echoed before the beep. I froze. Cold dread settled. I lowered my phone, heart pounding. Something was terribly wrong. I needed to leave immediately. This felt deeply unsettling. I turned towards the main gate, left ajar. My breath caught. It was shut. A heavy chain, previously absent, secured it from outside. Locked. Panic surged. I fumbled for my phone, desperate for help. No service. I was cut off, isolated in this ominous place. No signal. I tried again, nothing. The park's silence pressed in, broken only by my frantic heart. Not a missed connection, a deliberate trap. I started running, searching for exits. Fences seemed impossibly high, barbed wire glinting. Every attempt felt futile. I was desperate. Other sections tangled in impenetrable, thorny overgrowth, thick as a wall. The park actively resisted my escape, holding me captive. I ran deeper, then back, disoriented. Park boundaries shifted, expanding, paths twisting into a labyrinth. Nowhere to go. Every rustle, every creak sent shivers. Alone, truly alone. The darkness felt like a living entity closing in. I couldn't shake it. Just as despair set in, my phone, still no service, vibrated violently. My heart leaped. A text from Shadow Lens. My hands trembled. The message: "You're not leaving yet. The exchange has just begun." The words chilled me. Not a prank, far more sinister. I knew it. As I stared, the park subtly distorted, trees twisted, branches reaching like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder, heavier, a palpable presence. Old playground equipment creaked with unseen weight. Swings swayed gently as if someone just left. My blood ran cold. A new text, not Shadow Lens, but unknown. It detailed Blackwell Park's dark history. My terror morphed into morbid curiosity. I had to read. It spoke of gruesome disappearances, unsolved murders, whispered ancient rituals here. The texts painted a horror I couldn't comprehend. The messages implied the park was a sentient, hungry entity, exchange point its lure. I wasn't selling a lens, I was being drawn to a sacrifice. Disembodied whispers began to echo faintly around me just at the edge of hearing. They came from nowhere, a chilling chorus of unseen voices. Sometimes they repeated my thoughts, distorted and malicious. "You deserve this," a voice hissed, eerily familiar yet alien. My mind reeled. I checked my phone's battery full moments ago. To my horror, it drained rapidly, plummeting before my eyes. The park was feeding. The whispers grew louder, insistent, pressing on my sanity. They spoke of past victims, their pleas and despair, a tapestry of terror. A final, terrifying text appeared on my dying screen. "The lens isn't valuable, it's your presence. You're the exchange." The truth hit me. It was followed by an old, grainy photograph of Blackwell Park. A shadowy figure resembling me, barely visible, stood in a historical scene. I was part of its history. My phone screen flickered violently, then briefly displayed a live, distorted video. It was my perspective, but something was wrong. My blood ran cold. In the video, just behind me, a barely perceptible, shadowy figure stood. It mirrored my every movement, a dark reflection I couldn't see. It was there. The whispers intensified, forming coherent, predatory sentences. They slithered into my mind, revealing exchange point's true nature, not for goods. It was a marketplace for souls, Blackwell Park one of its collection points. Shadow Lens was a facade for the true entity. I was trapped. The phone gave a final gasp, flickering before dying. I was plunged into absolute darkness. The whispers were all I had left. They converged from every direction, growing louder, closer, physical. I felt their cold breath, their unseen presence pressing. I was surrounded. I never saw the entity, never its form, but I felt its overwhelming, consuming presence, everywhere, inside and outside, reaching into my being. A silent scream tore through my mind, something intangible yet real torn from me. My essence, my will, myself consumed. This was the exchange. I don't know how I got out or if I truly did. Next, a jarring disorientation, a sudden jolt back to reality. I woke up miles from Blackwell Park in a ditch by an unfamiliar road. My head throbbed, body ached, mind a shattered mirror. My prized lens was gone, vanished. My phone, my only connection, shattered beyond repair, its screen a spiderweb, nothing left. I deleted all my online marketplace apps that day, every single one. The thought of using them again filled me with primal terror. No more exchanges. But the chilling realization remains. I still feel its gaze. That unseen presence, that consuming hunger never left. I carry a piece of Blackwell Park. Every time I see an online ad, dread ignites. I wonder who is truly buying and what they are really exchanging behind the digital curtain. I may have physically escaped Blackwell Park, but my mind, my essence, feels forever trapped. A vital piece was taken, part of the exchange. Was I lucky to get out, or merely on hold for the next inevitable transaction? The whispers still haunt my quiet moments, a constant reminder. I sometimes catch glimpses of that shadowy figure in my peripheral vision, just out of reach, mirroring me, a constant, terrifying echo of that night. The world feels different now, tainted. Every interaction, transaction holds a sinister undertone. I see the exchange everywhere, waiting. I'll never forget that night. More than a lost lens, a loss of self. The true buyer is still out there, waiting for my next listing.